So would you mind telling me about your experience with alcoholism?
Right. Well, I'm of the school who believes that it's genetic.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I was born with it. Now, I come from Melbourne originally. I live in Brisbane now, but I was born and bred in Melbourne, middle-class family, went to school at Xavier College and sort of had, I guess, everything that one could really want, but that actually didn't make any difference because once I'd had the first drink, that was it. I couldn't stop. And every time I picked up a drink, I didn't stop until I was pretty much unconscious, I guess.
Yeah.
I worked in the public service, and back in those days, in the early 60s, it was very much a drinking culture there, so I was very much at home, dropping into the pub before work and then having morning tea in the pub and lunch and what have you. I think I spent more time in the pub next door than I did at work, which was ideal, but eventually I had to leave. I was having trouble at home and what have you, and I went to New Guinea. And I was there for 12 years, and I just continued on my merry way of drinking. It never occurred to me that what I was doing was all that much out of the ordinary, and that life would be much easier if I didn't drink. I just never thought of any of those things.
Do you think that alcoholism was normalised to you by that drinking culture you experienced in work?
Oh, I think so, and even before that at school, there was a bit of a drinking culture, particularly at Xavier for some reason. Even when I first left school with the Old Boys Footy Club and all that, it was always heavy drinking, but the thing was that my drinking was different from the others. They'd all get pissed when we'd have a party, but the difference with me was that while they would go to a party and get pissed, I'd get pissed and then go to a party.
Oh, okay, yep.
So I had to be drunk before I went out, or I would have to have had quite a bit to drink anyway before I went out. So having gone to New Guinea, of course, the drinking culture up there is legendary.
Oh.
I was completely at home there and didn't stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, so what were the driving forces behind your change to become sober?
Right, I guess I'd had enough. I eventually came back to Australia and settled in Brisbane. My marriage broke up because of the drinking, and in fact I ended up living in the park. So I was homeless. I was one of the sticks around the city. And I don't know why, but just one morning I woke up and I had about half a flagon of plonk left there beside me on the ground. I had to drink that before I could even get up on my feet. And just one moment of clarity, I thought, Christ, I've got to do something about this. I've got to stop. I've had enough of it.
Oh, wow.
So I headed off to the detox unit, which good old Gough Whitlam had provided the money for, and from there I went to a rehab unit. Not very successfully. I used to nick out every night to the pub and have a few drinks. And when I left there, I just ended up living back in the park again, and the same thing happened. Only this time I think I got so sick that I was terrified of drinking if it was going to make me any sicker than I was then, and I was so sick I thought I was going to die.
Oh, really?
So I went off back to the old detox unit, and from there I ran into a bloke who was a counsellor there. He happened to be a sober alcoholic in AA. He took me off to a meeting, and that on me about the 14th of November 1978, and I haven't had a drink since then.
Oh, wow. So do you credit the AA meetings to helping keep you sober?
To enabling me to get sober and keeping me sober, absolutely. Left to my own devices, my head can take me anywhere with any sorts of thoughts, and so I believe alcoholism is a disease, and this disease is the sort of disease that tells me I haven't got a disease, so it wants me to drink. That's what alcoholics normally do, is drink.
Yeah.
And so the only way I can keep my head together is by going to regular meetings of AA. I go 3 times a week minimum still after all this time. People wonder about that, but sometimes it's more than that, but I try to keep at least 3 a week because it keeps my head together.
Mm-hmm. So have you faced any difficulties in remaining sober once you started going to the meetings?
From my very first meeting, the compulsion to drink was taken away from me. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't had any thoughts of drinking since then. I certainly have. Actually, when I first got sober in AA, I used to go to 3 meetings a day, every day of the week. And, of course, being flat broke, I had to walk everywhere, and I'd keep running into all my old friends from the park who'd still be sitting around drinking metho or tonk or whatever they could get their hands on, and they'd be always inviting me to join them in a drink.
Yes.
And occasionally I'd think, oh, why not? And then I'd think, oh, I don't want to get that sick again, so I'd just say good day to them and head off to my meeting.
Wow, that must have taken a lot of strength not to just fall back into your, repeated history.
Well, I don't know about that, actually. I think at least in that first 12 months, I was just so terrified of ever getting that sick again that enabled me to really not fall into any temptation at all. So when I first got sober, I was so crook. I'd spent years working overseas in various jobs and thought I knew a lot about life. In fact, when I got into AA, I could barely dress myself and feed myself. So I'd lost all my life skills. I couldn't use a knife and fork. My hands had shake too much, so I had to do the old Muslim thing of eating with my left hand. And I had to learn how to actually live. So what alcohol did to me was give me a lot of fear about everything. So I was frightened of crossing the road, and I could never judge distances, and I would sort of step out in front of cars not realising they were there. I couldn't go into crowded spaces like banks or supermarkets, which makes life very difficult. And I was frightened of being outside, and I was frightened of being inside. So basically what alcohol had done to me was made me a gibbering mess.
And did you have any other psychological help apart from the AA meetings?
I very briefly saw a psychologist who worked at the rehab unit. I saw her for only about a month after I got out of rehab, and just decided that I was getting more help at AA from sober alcoholics than from AA meetings, and gave her the flick, and I've never had any other help at all.
Oh, okay. So